I will allow him to briefly explain to our dear viewers what Pan-African Movement Uganda chapter is.
Thank you very much once again, Miles. The Pan-Africanism, to start with, even before we go into the movement, is a concept that literally refers to the consciousness, the ability, the thinking, the desire, the determination of the African or the black person, wherever that black person lives. That means, therefore, that it goes beyond the physical African continent, to appreciate the fact that they have got inbuilt abilities to manage and overcome their situation without necessarily appealing to anybody, although not negating cooperation. Why is that so? It is so because the African man, or the black man for that matter, has been looked at over ages as the least advanced and therefore a subhuman being wherever they appear. When you look at some of the countries or some places which are not necessarily the African continent, you move to Australia, you realize that that was not a subcontinent, if you like, that was occupied by the whites, but they are the majority now there. The Aboriginals, if you like, have been exterminated. They were all killed by the racist whites, and the subcontinent was taken over. Now, that tells you why, therefore, we are talking about Pan-Africanism, and we are not restricting it to the African continent. Because as I diverge into Pan-Africanism and the Pan-African movement, you will also appreciate that in countries, for instance, like Trinidad and Tobago, which is not certainly on the African continent, in countries like Jamaica, which certainly is also not on the African continent, we had the best of the champions in the Pan-African ideology. Our great grandfathers, in the names of Marcus Garvey, in the names of Macrista, all these were not coming from the African continent. It is only by 1945 Manchester Pan-African Congress, where we had the African representatives by way of the African leaders or the African students, if you like, participating in the Pan-African struggle. And these included comrades like the great Osejefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, who was from Ghana and the champion of the Ghanaian independence. We had the likes of Jomo Kenyatta, who was coming from Kenya, and he also championed the independence of Kenya. We had others. We had the Amilcar Cabral from the Conakry in Guinea. We had the representatives from Nigeria, and there were also a number of other worthy comrades that later who tapped into the agenda of the 1945 Pan-African Congress, and they came and influenced the total physical liberation of their respective countries, and they crystallized those efforts into the 1963 Congress, if you like, we call it Congress, where they formed the Organization of African Unity. In other words, the Organization of African Unity is a child, which we now call African Union, is a direct child of the Pan-Africanism or the Pan-African movement. Now,
so it's Pan Pan-African movement first.
Yes,
And
this
then
is the Pan-African movement first, then you get the African Union, which formerly was at the crystallization and formation of the same body in Addis Ababa. It was called the Organization of African Union.
What is the range in between when Pan-African movement was created?
Yes.
It was created in which year?
No, Pan-African movement was not simply created and put there. It is a struggle. It is a struggle, like I explained, it is a struggle that started many years ago. Because I will tell you, for instance, I will tell you that even before the slave trade, even you can actually go back to the slave trade. When you look at the slave trade, the human beings from the African continent who were taken to the Americas and different other places, who later on started resisting, the spirit of Pan-Africanism then was being born. Because way back, even in 1906, when we had some of the African students in universities like Columbia, in the names of Kaisake Same from South Africa, who presented a paper at the British Columbia University named The Regeneration of Africa. Later, the same Kaisak Same was to form the now famous political party which has been in government since Mandela came from prison, and that is the ANC, African National Congress.
I want us to first take a break for commercials, and then we come back, we start from there. The program is one-on-one, is Bright Minds on Minds One TV, probably sponsored by D1 Foods in Namgongo and Braxkin Companies. Africanism? Or how can Ugandan youth, how can Rwandese youth can be involved? Or again, from Pan-African movement, Uganda chapter. Then, I will pose this question to you. Briefly, do you believe in DNA tests or?
Apart from, you see, science can be used positively or negatively. What is happening, and science can go wrong, horribly wrong by the way. I'm even not sure about the efficacy of the DNA that is being carried out. The reagents, the equipment.
I want us to use the soft English such that our viewers can.
Okay.
What is
efficacy?
Efficacy.
You are narrating your audience. They know some of these things. The efficacy is the percentage truthfulness, the clarity that actually I have carried out the DNA and it has given me positive or correct information.
Sure.
Because there is, we have had science for some whatever reasons giving results which are not necessarily true.
Even in COVID,
yes,
the test they did after
COVID is a very good example.
Sure.
But I want to believe though, because DNA is not a recent thing, it is just picking up on the African continent and in Uganda in particular, and it is becoming like an infectious kind of disease where it threatens to break up families. But I want to believe that, because when you look at the history of DNA, by 18 something, the DNA was discovered, and it was very popular in countries like Europe. They were carrying out DNA. Now, DNA is not necessarily meant to test whether the children are yours, or because we seem to fix the purpose of DNA and box it into that. DNA is for other worthy. I'm not saying that even testing whether children are yours or not is not worthy, but there are other worthy health-related issues for which DNA is meant to help, and DNA has for a very long time helped in identifying and also helping in making sure that once some of the aspects that are picked up by DNA tests are identified, then a disease is traced and is cured, given appropriate medication. In the same way, even identifying that you were from this kind of genetic formation, and these are your descendants, is equally important. I think what we need to do as a leadership, therefore, is to manage DNA.
Apart from getting whether children is used or not, you said what is the other use of DNA?
Oh, most important actually, what DNA does, the scientists and the medical doctors I have shared will tell you that they will, when they carry out DNA, they will know that genetically you are from a certain gene that suffers from, say, an eye defect. And they will know that at birth, they are supposed to administer certain medication to prevent, because it is genetic. If your great-grandfather was having, say, a certain recessive gene, and they carry out DNA, you are intending to marry, for instance, and all of you suffer by your test of DNA, you have a certain commonality, that recessiveness in, say, for instance, genetic formation, then they will advise you not to marry, because the children you're going to produce will certainly suffer from, say, albinism. So DNA is a wide thing. It's a wide thing, and I've been lucky to share with the medical experts who have explained some of these things to me. I don't intend to go into the scientific, deep scientific part of it, because I think what is in the mind of our people is only to test the children.
This one is Scovia, watching us live from Dubai. He's like, are you a history lecturer or a storyteller?
All historians are actually storytellers.
Sure.
And the best lecturers are good storytellers.
Sure.
I didn't mention to our audience that one, I have taught at secondary school. Because I have a bachelor's degree from Makerere University in education. I have another bachelor's degree in law. I have a master's in education. I have a PhD which is almost being completed, where I combined education and law, because I investigated the nexus, or for that matter, if you want, because you will say we are using very hard English, but let me bring it down.
Sure.
I investigated the impact of civic education in the legal, civic education to the elections management in Uganda, in the environment, the legal environment. Now you can see that I borrowed part of my legal knowledge and I embedded it in my education knowledge to come up with a discipline. And also it was helped because I had an experience of working with the Electoral Commission, where I identified some of these gaps for over 11 years. So yes, I am all that.
Oh.
Yes.
Now, you are still watching Mais One TV. You can share with your friend, such that we can both enjoy this a very, very, very good content from Council Rugarama. Now, Council, I would like us to shift the debate on how Pan-African.
Did they answer really how they use? Because let me just permit me this. They use, first of all, the participants, I have talked about the brains behind the Pan-Africanism as an ideology. The W.W. Du Bois, the McAllister, the Marcus Garvey, the Dr. Martin Luther King, this Malcolm X, the Dr. Umar Johnson currently, the now Louis Farrakhan, the Usejefoa, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, the Thomas Sankara, the Patrice Lumumba, the Amilcar Cabral, all these, I can go on and on and on. They were youth. These were not old men. They were young.
Council Daniel.
Yes.